Hello people from all around the world. Today let's discuss hyperhidrosis. If you would have told me 2 or 3 years ago that at some point I'll be able and have the courage to talk about hyperhidrosis in here, I would have never believed you. The simple reason is that hyperhidrosis and one other thing, which is extreme blushing, has been 2 things that have impacted my life and caused so much stress and still impact me today, and has also made me feel a lot of shame. But today I have way more confidence about those things, even though I still have excessive sweating, so hyperhidrosis and extreme blushing, because you know, the world would not be fun without a few colors here and there. Today let's discuss hyperhidrosis. I will explain to you which kind of hyperhidrosis I have, where it is on my body, and I would like to just make you feel a bit better if you have the same condition. And I want it to be a conversation if you have experienced it or still have it or know someone who has it. I just want people to talk in the description box, because I think it is nice to relate to people who have similar issues than we do. Apparently we're not a lot of people who have hyperhidrosis. Only 2 to 3% of people worldwide have this condition or have been diagnosed with this condition. I don't think those are the real statistics, because it's not possible to have the accurate number. But out of those 2-3%, I bet we're a lot on the planet who still have it and who live with it. And other people do not necessarily understand how it is to live with hyperhidrosis. They just see this sweaty hand and they're like, wow, that's disgusting, don't touch my hands. But us who have the same issue, we know how hard it is to live with it. Just as I'm talking about it, I don't know if you can see. Just so I'm able to share the maximum amount of information, I made a few notes on my phone so I can tell you more about it and my experience with it. It's just my own experience. I'm not a doctor. I'm just sharing how it has been for me to live with hyperhidrosis for the past 25 years. I'm 25 years old, and apparently for me it has been the case since I was born. Usually people develop that in their teenage years or early adulthood. For me, it is innate, so just got it from the get-go, if we can say it that way. So where do I have it? I have it kind of everywhere, but the worst of the worst for me are my hands, my feet, and my armpit. And then I also have it on my thighs, especially in the summers. And where else? I do not have hyperhidrosis on my face, but I would say on the bottom part of my body, so from like the butt part to the bottom of the feet, it's kind of the case. But the worst is for sure the hands and the feet and the armpits in some situations. Now, oh yeah, I was about to tell you what I want to discuss with you. How has been my social life impacted with hyperhidrosis? How have been my teenage years with it? What are the things I had to sacrifice on and still am sacrificing on because of that condition? How do I have gained or managed to have confidence with hyperhidrosis? And did I have the surgery? Will I have a surgery? Yeah, so those are the topics I want to discuss. Maybe there are other things I can discuss later, or do a part 2 of the video if you're interested, or if there are other questions, but for now that'll be it. I have covered where do I have hyperhidrosis. I had it also for 25 years, as I said. Social life with hyperhidrosis is pretty good for me. I never struggled to make friends, but the worst aspect of social life for me with hyperhidrosis has been being in school, having to shake hands, since now I'm working, having to shake hands with clients or during meetings, speaking in public, because speaking in public when you have extremely sweaty hands, it's honestly one of the worst things I have experienced. I remember when I was a kid and I was at school, it didn't matter if I was 5, if I was 10, or if I was 15, whenever the teacher sent me to the blackboard, that was awful. I remember my hands were dripping, and when it was a blackboard, I literally had sweat who just fell on the blackboard, so you can see some splashes of water. And when it was a whiteboard, you know, the one you use markers, I remember there were a few times my hands were so sweaty. I literally could not manage to open the marker because my hands were just sliding, and I felt so much shame. It was just awful. And then of course you sweat more. Those have been for me traumatic experiences. To this day I struggle speaking in public because of my hands, and also because I blush a lot. So the shame has been combining those two problems for me, hyperhidrosis and extreme blushing, because for me they're combined. But if I'm just talking about hyperhidrosis, living with it has been pretty hard, and I'm looking at my hands because just talking about it makes it worse. It has been hard to be at school. How it has impacted me in my teenage years and to this day, I would say I have sacrificed on wearing the clothes I want. Every single time I'm shopping for clothes to this day, I think about, would that be hyperhidrosis friendly? Just an example, I know when I'm in stressful situations, my hands sweat more. Even though they're sweaty like this 50-60% of the time, it doesn't matter if I'm very anxious, if I'm stressed or not. But when I'm put in a very stressful situation, it gets, of course, worse. And when I'm shopping for clothes, I need to make sure, especially for pants or skirts, if I'm really feeling bad and my hands are dripping, am I able to just remove them from the table and put them on my thighs without having the sweat that appears on the textile? I'm not able to wear anything leathery, no leather pants or faux leather, because you can see the marks of the sweat, and that's just a no-no for me. Then any kind of lighter shade or gray, because you can mainly see sweat on those colors. What else? Almost anything that is not either a jean texture or a really breathable and more natural material, because everything synthetic makes my hands sweat even more. If, for example, this is wool, if I put my hands on wool, it makes them awfully sweaty. If it's cotton, usually it makes them feel a bit better, and I can dry my hands on cotton. So, you know, I have compromised and sacrificed on wearing the clothes I want. Of course, I wear things I like, but have I been able to wear everything that I wanted? For sure, no. I remember being in groups of kids where we had to do a school project was kind of hard, because even though we were not using paper and my hands were not dripping on paper, if we had one laptop, or even if I had to tap something on the laptop, I would feel extreme shame when the kids were looking at my hands when I was tapping on the computer, because you can see the marks of Ellie's sweaty hands. That was pretty traumatic for me as well. And to this day, when I have a presentation at work and I need to use a computer, it makes me feel really anxious, and I feel the need to apologize. Oh, and when I use someone else's computer and then they have to take it back later for another part of the presentation, it feels awful, because I know there will be sweat on the computer and I'm worrying like what the other person will think of me. My strategy have been, you know, for the past 2 years when I worked for the other company and I had presentations, I remember from the get-go I said to my director, my sales director, who was my manager, look, I have hyperhidrosis, so it just basically means that I have really sweaty hands. I will not shake hands with clients, and I do not feel comfortable shaking hands with you. And also, if you see me use a tissue a lot of times, it's just because I need to dry my hands. Did I feel shame saying that? Yeah, a little, because it's a bit weird, you know, saying, yeah, your hands are very sweaty, because people are not used to that. But I felt much better after telling him, because then he just kind of knew, you know. So that was the first strategy, just saying it to your boss. And every time I'm seeing clients, or I have seen clients, I from the get-go told them, oh, sorry, I'm not shaking hands because I have sweaty hands. And I just show them, and I don't feel shame about it anymore, because I do not like to shake hands. It actually makes me more comfortable saying it, I have sweaty hands, in front of the client, and not shake his hands, rather than shaking his or her hands and thinking, oh my God, now he thinks it's so disgusting. And usually I could see the people after shaking my hand just drying their hand on their pants or on their blazer, and then I felt just more shame because I was like, wow, they think I'm disgusting. And when I had job interviews, I usually told the recruiter, I'm sorry, I do not feel comfortable shaking hands because I have something called hyperhidrosis. I just have really sweaty hands, but I'm really excited to be here. And I showed them I was excited to be here in a different way through my body language and my smile rather than by shaking hands. Other than this, I'm more and more accepting. Still hard, yes it is, but saying it to people around me has made me feel less awkward, less different, because now people just know, yeah, Ellie has sweaty hands. Okay. I have a lot of friends who have different kinds of problems with sweat. It's not necessarily hyperhidrosis, but I know some people who have sweat on their upper lips, either in the summer or when they're really stressed. Some people have more sweat on their forehead. And some people have a little sweaty hands when they're nervous, but neither to the level I have. I have only known one person in my life who has hyperhidrosis, and that person got surgery, which we'll discuss a little later. Those are the things I have sacrificed on: wearing clothes I want and shaking hands. And also, romantically speaking, really important things. I was so scared of having my first relationship. I was traumatized just by the idea of thinking that someone will hold hands with me. I thought that would never be possible because people would always think I'm weird, even when I was dating random people and I was about to tell them. I felt super awkward and I thought no one will ever like me because my hands are sweaty. And it's not the case. If you're single and you're so scared about that, just don't be, because sweaty hands, it's nothing. Just say it as a joke. Look, I have something called hyperhidrosis and I will teach you something today. Hyperhidrosis just means excessive sweating, and you know, it's no biggie. It doesn't have any smell, it's just water. It's very different from the sweat you have under your armpits when you sweat from the hands or from the feet. It's just water. It basically is just water. I could lick my hands. It's not sweat, it's just water. It doesn't smell. And actually, I'm washing my hands way more than someone who doesn't have hyperhidrosis. That's the funny thing. So don't be scared if you're not in a relationship. It will not impact your social or romantic life. You're thinking about it way too much, and I did as well, because it's normal. You think that you're really different from someone else, and you probably are, but being different is awesome. We're all different in our own ways. Some people have hyperhidrosis, some people have a lisp, some people have other issues. Everyone has his own issues, and it's okay. You're wonderful just the way you are and the way you are created. And if people do not enjoy you for who you are, they're just not good enough. You need to have really good and respectful people in your life. You deserve awesome people in your life. So just be candid about who you are and what your issues are. If people are laughing about you, they're not your real friends. Because real friends are tolerant and they don't mind. That's the real thing. Now, how do I have confidence or gain confidence with it? Honestly, just accepting that I will not change. My parents, since I was little and I would speak about it, like how much it bothers me in social situations, they have always told me, oh Ellie, don't worry, it will go away with time. Well, it doesn't go away with time. If you have hyperhidrosis, the chances are it will remain for the rest of your life. And just accepting that it's the part of who I am and I was created that way. Does it suck? Yeah. Is it funny? Not necessarily. I remember I was also really scared about doing my driver's license because I was overthinking, how will I be able to touch a wheel of a car and have someone by my side teaching me how to drive and looking at my hands? Well, you know what I did? The first day I started my driving lessons, I bought some really cheap gloves at Decathlon, cotton gloves, really thin, and I put them on my hands and I said to the person to my driving instructor, I told him, hey, I'm Ellie, I have something called hyperhidrosis, so when we'll have our lessons together, I'll basically wear gloves because this is how I feel more confident, and I think it will also suit me better for driving. And you know what? I have my driver's license, it all went fine, and I was really good friends with the person who was teaching me how to drive. He never, ever laughed. And once you understand that it's part of who you are, that you're not going to change it, you just need to take it way less seriously and just tell people, oh yeah, I have hyperhidrosis, I sweat from my hands, and you know, I'm not going to die from it, and you're not going to die from it if you touch my hands. You know, it's just water. So you just stop caring that much. It's just water. Tell yourself that. Sometimes it's still not comfortable in social context, but other than that, I just say it like this to anyone who I meet. Surgery or not. So earlier in the video I said that I know someone who had hyperhidrosis and who tried Botox and who also had a surgery because he is a pilot. So he really wanted to feel confident while just working, you know, and being a pilot. And he got it, and for him it went really well. The thing you need to consider are the risks. So you might stop having hyperhidrosis on your hands if they cut or if they do something to your sweat glands. I don't remember what exactly they do, but it might come somewhere else in your body. So for that person I know, he got the surgery and now he has more sweat on his back, but he doesn't have any sweat on his hands. And when I asked him, was it worth it? He said yes. For my part, I have thought about it a lot and I will not do the surgery. I am trying to accept the fact that it's part of who I am, even if it bothers me at work or in some social situations. I don't want to take the risk of having sweat somewhere else in my body, because I was thinking, imagine if I don't have sweaty hands anymore, but if it appears on my butt. Well, that for me would be much worse, because then you cannot wear the pants you want, or you will always have to think about like, oh, imagine it shows on my bottom, on my pants. And I'm like, oh, I prefer to have the hands actually than having the butt. At least for me, so I don't want to risk this surgery. I didn't want to do Botox, and I still don't want to do Botox because first of all, injecting, that word is so hard. It's injecting something in your body. I don't want that. And second of all, it's super expensive. I think the Botox in the hands lasts up to 6 months and it costs about 400 euros for every 6 months, which is a lot of money. If you're struggling with hyperhidrosis, the summary is you're unique in your own way and you were created that way. So try to gain confidence by maybe accepting that this is the way you are. Maybe you can do some EMDR. Maybe you can try hypnosis or different kinds of techniques to feel more confident in those really stressful situations. Of course, they will appear in your life. Or if you really want to, you can do the surgery or try Botox. I have tried a lot of creams, topical creams. I have tried also something called ionophorèse in French. It's basically when you put your hands in water with electricity going on. I'll try to look for the term in English. It was really not pleasant. It took a lot of time. So now I'm just like, I will just live with it and accept it. And accepting is part of your journey as a person. It doesn't matter which kind of issue you have, but just remember you're just wonderful the way you are. And if you would like to continue this conversation, I would love to have your thoughts and maybe pieces of your journey with hyperhidrosis. Have a lovely day, friends, and I'll see you in my next video. Salut!